Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I'm Connor. This is the 45 Match Week 20 Premier League review, where the most shocking result of the weekend is a match we didn't even preview, which would be the 2-1 victory by Sheffield United over Manchester United at Old Trafford. We didn't see that one coming, but given this season, we certainly should have seen this one coming. That was the most obvious result of the weekend, in retrospect.
That was a really relapse for Man United, going back to their old habits. And funny enough, 14 out of the 40 Manchester United points they've gotten in the Premier League season at Old Trafford, about 35%, exactly 35%. 3 out of the 8 points that Sheffield United have gotten this season are at Old Trafford, meaning they have a better percentage of their Premier League points received at Old Trafford than Man United do at 37.5%. The more you know.
But it's only 3. It's a very small sample size.
Very small sample size. But they play Man City next, so they could increase it to the city of Manchester. Over half of their points are in from the city of Manchester.
That would be an insane result for Chris Wilder and the Blades. I mean, I'm super happy for him and for the club. Get the 3 points. And maybe this is a start of a bit of a wobble for United. We talked about it. We were talking about all the hand-wringing around Liverpool and how Arsenal were terrible. Spurs were great. Then they were mediocre. We don't really know who anybody is right now. So all bets are off. City sit on top, which is not a surprise to anybody, even though they were in 15th at one point in the season. First match, proper match that we'll speak to, Southampton and Arsenal. Arsenal continuing to improve here. Their 5th win in 6, avenging that loss in the FA Cup over the weekend to Southampton. Southampton with a brighter start with the clinical set piece straight off the training ground. Stuart Armstrong with the rocket into the net off the corner. That early advantage erased by the Pepe goal on the feed from Xhaka. This midfield playing much, much better for Arteta now. Leno, some good work in goal for the Gunners before Alex McCarthy. Don't know what he's doing, standing out there just about outside the box, and Bukayo Saka rounds on him and gets the go-ahead goal and on the then provides, the would-be game winner. This is rough. To Lacazette for the 3rd. Arsenal 9th on 30, 7 points off the top 4. Southampton fall to 11th, 1 point behind on 29.
Yeah, bit rough, but you got through it. Proud of you. Partey playing was a big deal for Arsenal. Pepe getting back into form, big deal for Arsenal. Saka being great, big deal for Arsenal. Southampton, I mean, a bit worrying.
They had chances.
Had their chances. Yeah. So, I don't know, a little bit frustrating, I think it has to be said for them. But fundamentally, Arsenal, they talked for so long about deserving to win matches, and everyone made fun of Arteta saying, oh, yeah, percent chances of winning, you didn't actually win. Well, this one, they're beginning to get a bit of favorable clinical results, where 1.15 XG for Southampton to 1.63 for Arsenal. So, not exactly entirely deserved 3-1 scoreline, but a good clinical result. Leno was good between the sticks. And I think this was a good result for them. Southampton are not an easy team to beat. They've beaten Liverpool in very recent times. So this is big for them. They're in 9th, and they're obviously not comfortably there because both Southampton as well as Aston Villa and Leeds, they all have games in hand on them. So not a secured spot by any means, but points are points. You're joint on points with Chelsea, which you would never have thought about that even a few weeks back. Man United next. That's a huge result or a huge match coming up, because they will look at that with a lot of confidence, because Man United are struggling a little bit. They're defensively the second best team in the entire country, only behind Manchester City. So a lot of reason for optimism at Arsenal, which just shows don't overreact, don't underreact, I guess, when teams are doing very well or teams are doing very poorly at times.
It's a big gap, though, in goals allowed between them and City. City are on 13 goals allowed. I mean, that's ridiculous. They've allowed 20, but still, they've tightened it up for sure. Arteta's figured something out. I think it's the same thing we said before Lampard got sacked. Once he figured out who his 11 were, things started to work. And I think that's what Tuchel has to figure out. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Next up, Newcastle and Leeds. That first goal, Newcastle, they give up the ball in midfield, and then they're running for their lives, and they never really step up to stop Rodrigo or Rafinha. The feed, 1-0 in the blink of an eye. That is classic Leeds right there. Just grab the ball, smash, run, score. Shelby, the feed to Wilson, 1 touch to Almiron, who levels it. Beautiful play from Newcastle. They had a couple of bright spots. And then Rafinha finds Harrison, who has all the time in the world to settle that ball and take the off the right post and in, or just inside the right post. Leeds tried to give the ball away to Newcastle in the second half. Newcastle couldn't really convert anything. They're now winless in 9, losing 5 straight, 16th on 19 points, 6 points ahead of that 18th spot. Leeds remain 12th on 26 points. Newcastle, we've said they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, they're showing zero signs of any plan.
Yeah. To defend Bruce a little bit, they created better chances in this one, just didn't finish them. It was the opposite of the Leeds performance. 0.93 XG for Leeds, 1.44 for Newcastle. And so you don't usually see Leeds be that clinical. I say that clinical. It's just about doubling your actual amount of goals. So I'm interested in where do they go from here? Do they change their managers? Do they because they have so much talent, Newcastle do, and they're just kind of wasting it right now. Leeds, on the other hand, I think they're in a very comfortable spot. This is a huge 3 points for them because if you're not getting those, you're much closer to Newcastle than you probably like to be. And Newcastle are much closer to the relegation zone than they'd like to be. So they need to step it up. They need to get some performances. Everton next, not easy because Everton are in a pretty good run of form. So you look at the table, though, if you're Newcastle, and you say, how many teams can we expect to beat? And it's maybe the teams below you, but you start looking above you, Burnley, Palace, Wolves. You wonder, are we going to beat them under Steve Bruce? And I think there's serious questions about that. So wouldn't be surprised if his time in Newcastle ends pretty soon.
All right, halfway through the season, one game over halfway, 19 points. You got half what you need almost for the mythical 40 points for safety. Don't know what that's going to look like this year because the league is just so crazy wide open. I think Newcastle had more chances in this one, but is that because they were playing Leeds and Leeds give people chances? I mean, is it a fallacy of false cause here situation for Newcastle? Next up, Chelsea and Wolves with the draw. First match for Tuchel with Chelsea. Got 3 at the back. No Werner, no Reece James at all. Callum Hudson-Odoi, right wing back, interesting. Abraham, Pulisic, Mount all come on after the 75th minute. They look a little bit better when they make those changes, but really not a lot going on in this match. It'll take a little bit for Tuchel to kind of figure out who his 10 are. He does show some flexibility. He's played the 3-4-3 many times, both in previous stops. But the Wolves really didn't do much in this. They were kind of sitting back in the first half, and the second they did a little bit more, but that draw leaves Chelsea 8th, level on 30 with Arsenal, as you mentioned. Wolves remain in the bottom half, 7 points behind in 13th, winless in 5. And again, we said in the build-up to this one, this is the first time in the 3 seasons now, 2+ seasons, that Wolves have been back in the Premier League where they've really this far down in the pack. Usually they're 5, 7, 8 range this point in the season. They got to figure some stuff out, and it's scoring.
Yeah. Lack of striker help has been a big deal for them because losing Jimenez obviously impacts. We mentioned it every time we talk about Wolves is because he's such an integral part of this team. They're optimistic he'll play again this season, which is great news to hear, and it'll be big for them because I don't think relegation's on their mind, but they're only 10 clear of Fulham. I don't think so. So you can never be too big for a relegation
worlds
battle.
Better than any of those. They're worlds better than any of those clubs.
I definitely agree.
And the ones in between them.
I think they're very happy with this result because you were pretty good at the back. You didn't really allow a ton of chances, and you weren't really creating a ton. Yes, but this was also very good defensively structured Chelsea side in their first game under Tuchel. So I think you're happy with this point. You play Palace next. That's a pretty big 3-pointer or 6-pointer, should I say, because they're both on 23 points. So you need to win that match, I think, to kind of get some more confidence going, believe in yourself a bit more. In terms of Chelsea, not the end of the world, not the greatest first result, I think, under Tuchel, because it's going to take him some time. Only one training session under him. He had Hudson-Odoi as a right wing back. He had Pulisic as a wing back at one point. So he's clearly trying different things. And I think he has a much better tactical understanding in the game than Lampard does. And I think he's going to get a lot more out of his players than Lampard ever did, which is crucial for them because what we've seen is this is a very volatile league. I think Manchester City is the only side that look confident week in, week out. And so they could very easily make a top 4 push. Title race, I think, is out of the question. They're 11 behind, and also City have a game in hand. So I think that's just put that behind your mind. Get Champions League football next year, and then it's a great first 6 months for Tuchel. So it's okay, but the funniest thing was on Twitter, Chelsea fans for the longest time made fun of Arsenal fans for hyping up the Martinelli goal and the 2-2 draw where he dribbled it from halfway line, made Conte slip. They made fun of him for hyping that up. Well, their admin made them look all embarrassed because they posted a clip of 12 passes in succession out of Tuchel saying, look at this, 12 of our 820 passes that we had against Wolves. And they're saying, well, we scored a goal at Stamford Bridge. You passed the ball 12 times at Stamford Bridge. But
They had an outrageous number of passes. It was
Oh,
almost
yeah.
900 passes in that match.
820. They passed the ball like crazy. But what City have done under Guardiola, Barcelona when Guardiola was there, Bayern Munich, you can't pass the ball into that. You gotta shoot sometimes. Only 0.81 xG. Not the greatest in that regard, but again, we're
better than Wolves.
We are the kings of just being rational. And it's his first game. It's his first training session. I think there's a lot of room for optimism, a lot of confidence you can take.
They're going to be they're going to be very good under him.
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see how he's got a proper English football test coming up with Burnley coming to Stamford Bridge this weekend. That will be interesting to see how he sets up his team.
A resurgent Burnley
for Sean Dyche. Yes, they've been doing pretty well.
2 wins in a row.
Next up, Everton and Leicester against good clubs. 1-1 Everton. Leicester looked good on paper. It was a good comeback for Leicester to earn the draw away. No Jamie Vardy. They remain unbeaten over 9. James Rodriguez with the opener for Everton at the half-hour mark on the rebound of his own shot. Leicester were the better in the second half, deserving of the draw, probably upset they didn't get the full 3. Leicester lost in Ndidi here. They're not terribly deep, so that's concerning, but they're very, very good. Are they good enough for the top 4? Question mark. Same thing for Everton, right? They've been stronger defensively for sure under Ancelotti. Better scoring ability, but not sure either team really has the depth to challenge for the top 4. Because we talk about Tuchel, they're going to be charging. Arsenal, maybe they're going to be able to do it. And is that going to leave one of these two teams out, or maybe both of these two teams out? I don't know. But Leicester are 3rd on 39 points, and Everton are 7th on 33 points. Those are real points and really good positions for these clubs at this point.
Yeah, I think the talent gap between Leicester City, West Ham, Spurs, Everton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Villa, Southampton, Wolves, it's very tight, actually. Maybe you can throw Man United in that mix. That's about 8-9 teams that could genuinely be in a really good chase. Now, will some of them fall off to be in this pack? I don't know. Will Liverpool get out of this pack? I don't know. But this is going to be a great next 18, 19 games of the season, because
that's fantastic.
There's going to be whenever you have that many teams that are competitive when they're playing at a really high level, you have games like this, Everton Leicester, week in, week out, where they're just very high quality matches. This was a pretty good match, to be honest. It was pretty open. There wasn't one side kind of sitting back. It was a good football match, and so I agree with you. Leicester probably were the better side on the day. Losing Ndidi is a bit of a worry for them, because they don't have the resources of the bigger clubs, because they haven't been able to spend that kind of money. So that will always be one of their downfalls, is when they have a lack of form, when they have a lack of players due to injury, suspension, whatever. They'll always have these kinds of problems. But, I mean, they've put themselves in a great spot. You can only deal with what's in front of you, and in their last 5, drawn 2, won 3. And that's a very good run. You have Leeds next. That's going to be a tough one for you. Everton have Newcastle next. I think you need to win that one, because they have 2 games in hand on most of their opposition. And if they win those 2 games in hand, they go joint 3rd with Leicester, who are also on 20 games played. So a lot of reason for optimism for both of these teams. I think this is a pretty reasonable result for both. And I'm interested where they both go from here, because I think they both could mount top 6 challenges. Top 4, maybe. I think this Leicester team is very good, but I just think there's a lot more competition, a lot more talent this year. And it's going to be week in, week out tough games, which is just going to make it a mess, a pack trying to just sneak into those Europa spots.
It's a beautiful mess. Absolute beautiful mess. I'm really looking forward to it. Last up for us this week, Spurs and Liverpool. Liverpool taking the full 3 away at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A lot of hand-wringing in this one leading up to this match about Liverpool are terrible all of a sudden, right? We talked a little bit about all these clubs up and down. We talked about where Chelsea are going to go, where they might go, where City were, to where they are now. Arsenal, same thing. But Jurgen Klopp, a bit brighter in his pre-match comments. This is a club that had failed to win or score thus far in 2021. And the team played with a lot more freedom, it felt like, and it looked like. Some tweaks to the midfield. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Sadio Mane picking up a goal and an assist each. Firmino providing a goal of his own. A lot of mistakes by Spurs. A lot of commentary by Mourinho after the fact. They did lose Kane at half, which is not good. He had the double ankle rolls. Liverpool could have had 5. Matip, again, now out. Yet another center back out for Liverpool. But that Kane loss really took the punch out of Spurs. They couldn't take advantage of that depleted Liverpool back line. Leaves Liverpool 4th on 37 and Spurs 6th in that glut on 33.
Yeah, there are so many takeaways you can have from this one. We'll start with Spurs. Losing Kane was a huge deal because Son was getting in behind with a lot of frequency in that first half. He was a real big threat like he was at Anfield. And losing Kane, you lost your best playmaker too. We saw that they just could not feed the ball to Son like Kane can, with his movement, with his passing ability, and with his vision, which are very underrated. They're some of the best in the world at that. He is. And so losing him is a big deal. He's out for a few weeks, I believe. That's a big loss for them. He's one of the best players.
Gareth Bale has been a ghost.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't really know if Gareth Bale was a very nice sentimental bring-in, but he's the only player to score in all competitions. I guess that's a positive. But I think it's an interesting time at Spurs because I think they're building something under Mourinho, and they're beginning to be a bit more defensively sound. Beginning to. They sucked defensively this game. They were not good in the back. There was times when Dyer made mistakes, when Rodon made mistakes, when Doherty made mistakes. Aurier was taken off at halftime, and reportedly was because he got into a scrap with Lloris during halftime, and he ended up leaving the stadium at halftime. And so locker room problems for Spurs. This is a bad result, I think, for them because they need to be aiming for better results against the big sides. And so they'll be frustrated with this. For Liverpool, though, this is huge. They finally have returned to their level that they should be playing at. And it was because Spurs played a little bit. They didn't sit back. They weren't too compact, and they gave Liverpool a bit of space. And I think the biggest change was Wijnaldum as the 6 and Thiago as pretty much a 10 with Firmino, where they kind of interchanged a bit. And that transformed their ability to move forward. Wijnaldum's a great defensive midfielder, and Thiago is a phenomenal player in the creative aspect of the game. So I wonder why we didn't see that more often. But they'll be happy that they finally got around to that. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, him getting back into form is huge for them because he's the best right back in the world when he's in form, but he's been out of form for so long. So we need to talk about the pack a little bit as well. This was huge for Liverpool because if you had lost this game, you would have been behind West Ham, you would have been behind Spurs, and you would have been joint on points with, or you would have been just a point ahead of Everton. So it's huge that you got the points here, the 3 points here. And it's a catalyst. The last thing I'll say for Liverpool is people have been joking on Twitter that Matip and Fabinho with Klopp are colluding to pretend like they're injured to force the Fenway Sports Group to purchase or bring in a lone center back for some more depth, because they are very thin in that department. They had to play Jordan Henderson and Nat Phillips for the second half, and they only conceded 1 goal, which was you let Højbjerg take that shot every day of the week and twice on Sundays, and he makes it maybe once a year if he does that. And that's reflected by the fact they only had 0.11 xG to the 2.39 for Liverpool. Hugely deserved results, phenomenally done by Liverpool in a lot of aspects. And with West Ham next, who are in a great vein of form, 4 straight wins in the Premier League. It's not going to be an easy one, but I think this is a newfound confidence, and the title race is not over in the slightest. You need to improve your form, and you need to beat West Ham. And I think bringing in a center back, there's talk about Aaron Long from the MLS on loan, Issa Diop from West Ham, Mustafi from Arsenal, which would be very interesting to see. But I think the last thing I'll say, this will be the last thing, is we talk about the swings and roundabouts of the Premier League, and that one team can be doing great for so long. Man United, you can lose a game against Sheffield United. You can be a title-winning team in Liverpool, and you can be winless in 5 straight and lose your home streak to Burnley. Things swing around, and they're back on the upswing for Liverpool, but you need to win against West Ham because continue that form, continue in a positive vein, and who knows what the rest of the season can hold. Still in the Champions League, still in the Premier League title race. A lot of exciting things.
Spurs travel to Brighton on the weekend, and as you mentioned, Liverpool head to London Stadium to take on 5th place West Ham. It'll continue to shape up what that top 4 race will look like. That is Jack. I am Conrad. This has been the 45. Please do like, subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments, and look for us on the Twitter at the 45. Take care now.